In Queens, New York, there are over 5 million graves. Throughout the borough, and indeed New York itself, you can find the grave sites of many famous celebrities in their final resting places. Today I headed to the cemetery belt, which is located in Queens, but straddles the border with Brooklyn, in order to search for a few of these famous graves. In this video, I will bring you the grave sites of 5 famous people, and I hope in the future to bring you more videos like this. By all means, leave your feedback if you have any. I am always happy to hear from you. So let us begin on our journey and make our first stop at the McPaler Cemetery. Erich Weiss was born in 1874 in Budapest, Hungary. In 1878, when he was 4 years old, his family moved to America and settled in Appleton, Wisconsin. At 13 years old, the teenager, who would become known around the world as Harry Houdini, moved with his father to East 79th Street in New York City. By 1891, Harry Houdini had begun his career as a magician in New York City, performing card tricks in sideshows, while also doubling as a wild man in a circus. It was at Coney Island, where Houdini was performing with his brother as a double act called the Houdini Brothers, that Harry Houdini met his future wife, Bess, a fellow vaudevillian performer. Within a year, the two of them were married, and they would go on to perform as the Houdinis. Bess worked as Houdini's stage assistant for the rest of his life. While the gravestone of Harry Houdini lists his wife's name, she is not actually buried here with him. Being that she was raised as a Roman Catholic, and Harry Houdini was Jewish, her family did not allow for her to be buried with him. It was in 1899 that Harry Houdini's big break came, when the manager of the Orpheum vaudeville circuit advised him to concentrate on his escape acts. For the next 20 years, Houdini would perform all over Europe and the United States. In 1904, he purchased a house on 113th Street in Harlem, which would remain his family home until the day he died. Between 1917 and 1926, Harry Houdini served as the president of the Society of American Magicians, and is considered to be magic's greatest visionary. Under his active leadership, he personally recruited charters and assemblies, most often at his own expense, and he created the richest and longest surviving organization of magicians in the world. The organization now embraces nearly 300 assemblies worldwide. Harry Houdini died in 1926 at the age of 52 from peritonitis and a ruptured appendix. The Society of American Magicians maintain the upkeep of his gravesite, and there is currently a project to restore the gravesite to its former glory. Harry Houdini, the most famous illusionist to have ever lived.
Ladies and gentlemen, in introducing my original invention, the water torture cell, although there is nothing supernatural about it, I am willing to forfeit the sum of $1,000 to anyone who can prove that it is possible to obtain air inside of the torture cell when I'm locked up in it in the regulation manner after it has been filled with water. should anything go wrong when I'm locked up, one of my assistants walks to the curtain, ready to rush in, demolishing the glass, allowing the water to flow out in order to save my life. Harry Houdini, October the 29th, 1914, Flatbush, New York.
Also buried in this plot is Harry Houdini's brother, known professionally as Hardeen. Theo Hardeen began his professional career working alongside Houdini as the Houdini brothers at New York's Coney Island. While not as famous as his brother, Hardeen was known in his own right as an illusionist. Between 1926 and 1945, the year of his death, Hardeen continued to perform on the vaudeville circuit in New York City and across America. Bert Lahr adored the world over for his portrayal of the lovable character, the Cowardly Lion, in the timeless classic, The Wizard of Oz. Born in New York City as Irving Lahrheim in 1895, Bert Lahr began performing vaudeville in 1910 at the tender age of 15. By 1927, he made his Broadway debut in Delmar's Revels, playing to packed houses. A year later, in 1928, he began performing in Broadway musicals, such as Hold Everything and Flying High. Bert Lahr's film debut was in 1931, reprising his stage role as an eccentric aviator in Flying High. Lahr's movie career was relatively limited. However, even 80 years later to this day, he is still warmly loved by children and adults alike for his famous role as the Cowardly Lion. While Lahr would occasionally appear in movies after The Wizard of Oz, the rest of his career was pretty much defined by his stage work. In 1964, at the age of 69, Lahr won a Tony Award for the Best Leading Actor in a Musical for his role in the musical Foxy. In the 1950s, it was not unusual to see Lahr on television, either as a guest on game shows or performing in television plays. He also appeared wearing multiple costumes in a series of television commercials for Lay's potato chips in the 1950s and 1960s. The last film role that Bert Lahr had was in the movie The Night They Raided Minsky's. Just 3 weeks before the movie was due to complete filming, Bert Lahr passed away on December the 4th, 1967, at the age of 72. The official cause of death was listed as pneumonia. However, it is also believed that he was suffering from cancer, but he was not aware himself that he had it. I think that it is fair to say that 100 years from now, long after we are all gone, Bert Lahr will still be entertaining children and adults alike with his film portrayal of the Cowardly Lion. Let us listen one more time to Bert Lahr playing his most famous role.
Here, go away and let us alone.
Oh, scared, huh? Afraid, huh? How long can you stay fresh in that can? Come on, get up and fight, you shivering junkyard. Put your hands up, you lopsided bag of hay.
Now, that's getting personal, Lion.
Yes, get up and teach him a lesson.
Well, what's wrong with you teaching them?
Well, I hardly know him.
Well, I'll get you anyway, Pee-wee. coward. I haven't any courage at all. I even scare myself.
Now, the wizard will fix everything.
Arnold Rothstein, born on January the 17th, 1882, was nicknamed the Brain. He was an American racketeer, businessman, and gambler who became a kingpin of the Jewish mob in New York City. Rothstein was widely reputed to have organized corruption in professional athletics, including conspiring to fix the 1919 World Series. He was also a mentor of future crime bosses, Lucky Luciano, Meyer Lansky, Frank Costello, and numerous others. In the HBO series Boardwalk Empire, Rothstein is portrayed by actor Michael Stuhlbarg. Rothstein turned organized crime into big business, from the street thuggery where it began. By 1910, Rothstein owned and operated a casino in Manhattan and was known for fixing sports events. He was widely believed to have been involved in the famous 1919 Black Sox scandal, even being called to Chicago to testify. But he was never charged of any crime. Indeed, despite his reputation as Mr. Big, Rothstein never spent a single day in jail throughout his life. Arnold Rothstein is credited as being one of the founding fathers of organized crime in America. It was during Prohibition in the Roaring Twenties where Rothstein excelled as the king of the underworld. With his bankroll, he was able to expand his criminal organization through his political connections, and he became the forerunner for bootlegging and illegal narcotics in New York City. By the mid-1920s, he was one of the most powerful criminals in America, with his organization featuring some of the most famous gangsters in America. Arnold Rothstein was assassinated in 1928 for what was believed to be an unpaid gambling debt. Nobody was ever convicted for Rothstein's death, in part because Rothstein himself refused to identify his killer on his deathbed, even going as far as telling the police that "me mother did it" in response to their inquiries. Because Rothstein controlled the street gangs, it was a political disaster for the corrupt politicians, and Rothstein's death allowed for future New York Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia to rise in prominence. The final stop on our tour today is at the crypt of Joe Weber. Perhaps not as well remembered as the other people in this video due to the passing of Father Time, Joe Weber was once one of the highest paid performers, along with his partner Lou Fields, for their comedy double act during the times of vaudeville. Born in 1867, Joe Weber and his childhood friend made their stage debut in 1885 at Miner's Bowery Theatre in New York City. They travelled the vaudeville circuit, where they portrayed the famous Dutch act, playing the roles of two immigrants using garbled English and a less than stellar understanding of America. The duo returned to New York and appeared at Tony Pastor's famous theatre on 14th Street, and by 1895 they opened the Weber and Fields Broadway Music Hall where they produced the burlesques for popular Broadway shows. The Weber and Fields Music Hall featured some of the greatest stage performers and comics of the time. In 1904, the duo split after a disagreement over whether to remodel or close their theatre due to strict New York fire laws. Despite their split, though, Weber and Fields would continue to collaborate for the next 37 years, where they would occasionally perform on film or pair up on a business venture. In 1931, they had their own series on NBC Radio. The last stage performance of Weber and Fields as a double act occurred in 1932. It was during the first ever show at Radio City Music Hall in December of that year that proved to be their last stage appearance as a team. The duo did return one more time for a cameo appearance in the 1940 movie Lillian Russell. The backstage hostility in the Neil Simon play The Sunshine Boys is possibly based upon the partnership of Weber and Fields, though it could also be based upon another comedy act, Smith and Dale. Joe Weber died on May the 10th, 1942, at the age of 74 years. Here is a recording of Weber and Fields performing their double act from 1915, which will close out our video for today. I hope that you enjoyed the trip today, and I look forward to bringing you more in the future.
By golly, Mike, this ought to be the proudest moment of your life. Today I have made you a financier. Is she proud? Sure I am proud. But what is it I am? Didn't you hear what my lawyer said? Ah, that's the trouble. He said so much I didn't know what he was talking about. That shows what a good lawyer he is. Oh, a lawyer's better when you don't understand him. Sure, the less you understand him, the better lawyer he is. Well, then the next time you go to a bum lawyer. Why? So I could know what was going on. So you could know. You go to a lawyer to find out what you don't know. Well, Maya, tell me, what was that lawyer doing all the time we were up there in his office? He was organizing our trust. He was? Yes. What is it, a trust? A trust is a body of men who don't trust anybody, so they get a whole lot of people to trust them. By golly, I'm glad I'm a trust, but I didn't like it when your lawyer made me sign all those papers. Why? Because I didn't know what I was signing. Of course you didn't. If you did, you wouldn't have signed them. I might have signed my life away. Might have? You did? You mean to say that I haven't got my life anymore? That's right. Well, who's got it? It belongs to the trust. The lawyer didn't tell me that. Didn't I tell you what a great lawyer he was? He belonged to the trust. Then I ain't got nothing left at all? Not a thing. Everything belongs to the trust. Well, what becomes of my money, that $10,000? The trust has got it. On my little house? That belongs to the trust. On my wife? That's the only thing the trust ain't got. Say, Maya, wouldn't I get the trust to take her too? No, this trust don't deal in wives. They got trouble enough. But let me ask you, Maya, what am I investigated in? You are investigated in the Metropolitan Railroad. Every car that is running in New York today, you are investigated in. You own shares in it. Well, what you talking about? I got to pay my own fare. Sure, you got to pay your fare. Well, then what am I invested in? Listen, we were standing on the corner this morning waiting for a car. And when you whistled, didn't the car stop? Sure it did. Well, it don't do that for everybody. Well, what's that got to do with me? And then again, when you were riding on the car, and you wanted to go to a seat where the car didn't go, didn't the man give you a transfer, a changer, a ticket? Sure I got one. That proves you're a stockholder. Ah, shut up. That proves nothing of the kind. Everybody else got such a transfer. Well, then they're all stockholders. Well, what you told me that I should keep them? Sure, save them up until you get 1,000 of them. Well, I did save them up, but it cost me many a nickels to save them. Ah, but when you get 1,000 transfers, then you will be promoted. Promoted? Yeah. So what do I get promoted? Don't you understand? Then you get 1,000 transfers, then you can be your own conductor and give them out yourself.